The medical bay of the Valiant Dawn had never been so tense. Dr. Velix, a Zenthari physician with decades of experience across 100 species, stood frozen at the entrance, his four eyes fixed on the scene before him. On the medical cot lay Seren, the human liaison officer, her skin pale and glistening with fever sweat. But it wasn't her condition that made him hesitate. It was the 6 Kashara cubs forming a protective circle around her bed. The largest cub, Kor, stood at the foot of the cot. His silver-striped fur bristled and a low, rumbling growl emanated from his throat as Velix took a single step forward. The sound was warning enough. Kashara were apex predators from Kesh Prime, creatures that had terrorized the galaxy's nightmares for millennia. Even as cubs, they were dangerous. "Please," Velix said, raising his manipulator appendages in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "I need to treat her. She's burning up." Kor's growl deepened. The other 5 cubs shifted closer to Seren's unconscious form, their claws scraping against the metal floor. One of them, a smaller female with amber eyes, hissed at him. Captain Thorne appeared at the doorway, his heavy footsteps announcing his arrival. "What's the situation, Doctor?" "The cubs won't let me approach," Velix said, frustration bleeding into his voice. "Miss Seren's temperature is reaching critical levels. If I don't administer treatment within the hour, her organs will begin to fail." Thorne studied the scene, his jaw tight. He'd seen many strange things in his 30 years of commanding vessels, but this was unprecedented. "How did those things even get in here?" "They followed her when she collapsed in the recreation bay," Velix explained. "Security tried to remove them, but..." He gestured at the deep claw marks on the doorframe. "They made their position clear." The captain approached cautiously. Kor's eyes locked onto him immediately, and the growl shifted in pitch, a clear warning. Thorne stopped. He'd seen what Kashara could do to armored soldiers. Cubs or not, he wasn't about to test them. "Someone explained to me," Thorne said slowly, "why a pack of predator cubs is protecting our liaison officer like she's their mother." Velix pulled up a holographic display. 3 months ago, Seren was assigned to oversee the Keshara refugee transport. Their homeworld was dying, volcanic instability. We evacuated what we could, but resources were limited. The adults had to make a choice. He paused, his eyes dimming with sorrow. They sent only their young. And Seren? She volunteered to care for them during the journey. Fed them, played with them, slept in their quarters when they had nightmares. The Kashara cubs imprint on those who show them kindness during their vulnerable period. To them, she isn't just a caretaker. She's pack. She's family. Thorne exhaled slowly. "So what do? We can't just let her die." "We need their permission," Velix said quietly. "Kashara social structures are complex, but Kor appears to be the alpha of this group. If we can communicate with him, make him understand that we're trying to help." "Kashara cubs don't understand standard," Thorne interjected. "No, but they understand intent, body language, emotion." Velix looked at Serene's pale face, her breathing shallow and rapid. "And they understand loyalty." The doctor knelt slowly, making himself smaller, less threatening. Kor watched him with predatory focus, muscles coiled to strike. Velix reached into his medical kit and withdrew a cooling patch. The same kind Seren had used on the cubs when they'd gotten minor injuries during their journey. He held it up, letting Kor see it clearly. Then deliberately, Velix pressed it against his own forehead, demonstrating its purpose. He removed it and offered it forward, his appendages trembling. For a long moment, nothing happened. The medical bay was silent except for Seren's labored breathing and the soft clicking of the cub's claws against metal. Then Kor did something unexpected. He turned to look at Seren, his sharp eyes studying her flushed face, her trembling form. Something passed through his expression. Recognition, perhaps. Understanding. The cub had seen her in distress before, had watched her care for his siblings when they were sick. He remembered the cooling patches, the gentle hands, the soothing voice. Kor looked back at Velix. The growling stopped. The doctor didn't waste the moment. Moving slowly, telegraphing every motion, he approached the cot. Kor stepped aside, barely, but it was enough. The other cubs remained tense, watching, but they didn't attack. Velix's hands shook as he placed the cooling patch on Seren's forehead. He retrieved a medical scanner, running it over her body, checking her vital signs. Kor stood inches away, close enough that Velix could smell the musk of the predator, could hear the soft clicking of teeth. One wrong move and those jaws would close around his throat. Severe infection, Velix murmured, working quickly. Bacterial strain from the ship's hydroponic bay. We need antibiotics, fever reducers, and fluids. He looked at Thorne. I need to give her an injection. The captain nodded, standing ready. Every security officer on the ship was outside that door, weapons charged, waiting. Velix prepared the hypospray, the hiss of compressed air filling the quiet room. Cor's ears flattened against his skull. The cub's body tensed, and for a terrible moment Velix thought it was over, that the predator would see the injection as an attack. But then Saren stirred. Her hand moved weakly, fingers brushing against Cor's fur. The cub froze. Her voice, barely a whisper, cracked through the silence. It's okay. They're friends. Cor's ears lifted. He looked down at the human who had fed him, who had sung to him when he was afraid, who had protected his siblings as fiercely as any Kashara mother. He made a decision. The cub sat. It was a gesture of trust. Of permission, Velix administered the injection. Saren's body relaxed as the medicine took effect, her breathing gradually steadying. The doctor worked through the next hour, providing treatment while 6 pairs of predator eyes watched his every move. Not once did the cubs leave her side. By the time Saren's fever broke, the medical staff had set up sleeping mats around her bed. The cubs had claimed their territory and weren't leaving. Neither was Cor, who lay with his head resting on the edge of her cot, one paw stretched protectively across her arm. Captain Thorne stood in the doorway, watching the scene with something between amazement and respect. Humans, he muttered, shaking his head. They befriend apex predators like it's nothing. Dr. Velix looked up from his instruments, his eyes bright with wonder. It's not nothing, Captain. It's everything. She showed them kindness when they had lost everything. That's what humans do. They see beings in pain and they can't help but care. Even when those beings could tear them apart? Especially then, Velix said softly. As Saren slept peacefully, surrounded by her unlikely guardians, the galaxy continued its eternal spin. Somewhere out there, the Kashara elders would hear this story. They would learn that their cubs had been saved not by strength or power, but by compassion. By a single human who had seen frightened children instead of monsters, and they would remember. That was humanity's greatest weapon. Not their technology or their tactics, but their inexplicable ability to turn enemies into family, to bridge the impossible distances between species with nothing but kindness and courage. Cor's soft growl echoed once more through the medical bay, but this time it wasn't a threat. It was a promise, a vow of protection that would last a lifetime. The predator cubs stood watch, and the galaxy would never be quite the same.